It's Friday, March 15th, 2024. Welcome to your new backcountry snowpack summary brought to you by North Shore Rescue. Could winter be over already? I don't know, but it sure feels that way this morning. It's very, very hot today, and it's actually going to get even hotter this weekend. It's been a pretty wild week for avalanches, starting, of course, with the avalanche accident that happened in Mount Seymour Park last weekend. And of course, I think if you're watching this video, you don't really need to be told that avalanche rescue equipment is important to carry. But nevertheless, really happy that these people got really incredibly lucky, and wish them the best of luck for the recovery. And if you've been following the Avalanche Bulletin and the Min, you saw that we had some high, even some extremes a little bit further north. Tons of really big avalanches happening, mostly natural avalanches triggered by the warming and the sun. A lot of those failing on that late January crust facet combo, which isn't typically a problem on the North Shore. That said, this week, on just a few days ago on Sky Pilot, there was a very large avalanche failing on facets. So somewhere along the sea to sky between North Van and Squamish, those facets start to appear, so I wouldn't necessarily write them off. So we're entering a transition period, lots of change happening in the snowpack with all that heat. So if you want to know what that means for the weekend, stick around for the snowpack discussion. For this week, we picked the east aspect at around 1,400 meters, and this is an especially deep area. So by digging and probing, I found that there's just about 4.5 meters of snow here, and the top, more than 1.5 meters, is this really nice, well settled snow with no real layers that really pop out, except for a little bit of a grapple layer down here, and then probing further down, the first crust that I could find, which might actually be sort of the early February crust, was another meter down or so. So with the weather that we're having, of course, we're really concerned about that heat and the sun weakening the snowpack. And as there's more and more water percolating down the snowpack, we're concerned about putting stress on those deeper weak layers. Now, that layer of grapple, we tried testing it with a compression test. We didn't really get any results, but it is there, and correlating a compression test with the effect the sun has on the snow is a little bit of a tricky proposition. So I wouldn't necessarily bank on the fact that I didn't get a test result to say that I fully trust these grapples when the sun's going to hit it really hard. So we're entering a transition phase right now. This is still very much a winter snowpack. The solar aspects have been cooked. We can see wet, loose avalanches coming down, but you can still, if you work really hard at it, find some good turns on some shady aspect. Now you have to be careful, of course, because the avalanche hazard is high, and you always have to be mindful as you're skiing those nice turns on the northerly aspect. What are you going to get underneath? So overhead hazard these days is a really, really big deal. So you definitely don't want to be caught down low with a big slope above you. So be super mindful where you're headed. And so as we're headed into the next few days and the weekend, we're expecting really warm temperatures. The snowpack, again, going through tremendous changes. It has been actually for the last few days. There's tons of Min reports of very large avalanches. Actually, we're not very far from Sky Pilot this morning, so there's a very large avalanche happening there. Tons and tons of like size 3, size 4 avalanches happening in the Whistler area. Most of those are happening because the snowpack is weakening and sitting on that late January, early February crust and facet combo, which is generally not a problem on most popular areas on the North Shore. But keep in mind that, you know, it happened at Sky Pilot. So somewhere between the popular areas of the North Shore and Sky Pilot and further north, that crust and facet combo starts to appear. So the further north you go, the higher up you go, the more it becomes a concern. Beyond that, of course, wet loose avalanches and terrain trap, certainly a big concern on the North Shore. So it is going to be a pretty spicy weekend. Lots of change happening in the snowpack, and generally snowpacks don't like change. So be extra careful out there, and we'll see you next week.